Welcome to Shrinks Who Drink with Amita Ghosh. This monthly podcast dives into special topics in mental health, exploring themes like motivation, anxiety, trauma, and depression. Each episode is designed to engage, inform, and inspire as we journey together toward the incredible India Therapists Retreat in October 2025. Join us for candid conversations with expert guests, sharing their lived experiences and professional insights. And don't miss the wisdom-packed closing segment, where we hear from therapists you'll meet at the retreat. Let's spill some tea, share some stories, and build a stronger mental health community, one episode at a time. Your host, Amita Ghosh, is a passionate mental health advocate and professional dedicated to fostering meaningful discussions around mental wellness. With a knack for storytelling and a love for connecting with others, Amita brings warmth, insight, and a touch of humor to every episode. Get ready to explore deep topics, hear unique perspectives, and gain practical advice as Amita leads the way to our shared destination, the incredible India Therapists Retreat in October 2025. Now let's get started.
All right, so I am super excited today to introduce Dr. Gloria Vanderhorst. Gloria Vanderhorst. Gloria has wisdom gained through 50 years of experience working with preschoolers through adults in her dynamic psychology practice. Her current focus is on the emotional development of men and boys and how the culture robs men of access to the full range of emotions, leaving them handicapped. She is the author of a New York best-selling journal book called Read, Reflect, Respond: The 3 R's of Growth and Change. Welcome, Dr. Vanderhorst. Please tell us a little bit about yourself and, what is your passion in life? Oh, before we get started, do you have your tea?
I do have my tea.
So,
in fact, I've been working on it, as you can see.
You have it in your wine glass, it looks like. So do you see behind me, I have Shrinks Who Drink.
That's right.
And it is not shrinks who drink alcohol, which, we all do a little bit and it's okay. But my podcast is all about shrinks who drink chai. So I'm from India and we drink tea all the time. Anytime somebody walks into the house, which people do all the time unannounced, it's like, oh, put some tea on the kettle. So
absolutely,
we drink tea.
I have tea every morning, and
yes.
I have a variety of different teas. I love ordering tea.
Oh, that's wonderful.
It is just fascinating. The smell, the taste.
Yes.
It is a great drink. Everyone
I know.
Explore tea.
It's funny. My husband is American and he hated coffee. He's like, I like the smell of coffee. I just don't like the taste of it. And then I saw him spending all this money at Starbucks and I was like, wait a second, I'm going to just make the tea at home. You're not spending $7 at Starbucks every day. So I taught him how to make tea and he's the one who makes tea every morning, like a big pot of it. And he drinks tea every day, all day long.
Great.
So, so we're a tea drinking household. All right. So tell us about you. Tell us your passion and tell us what is going on in Gloria's life.
Well, I think to really understand where I am now, you have to appreciate how I got into psychology.
Wonderful.
As a child, as a high school person, I wanted to be a math teacher. I loved math. All right. Math was easy for me. I could understand it. I could master it. I just loved math. And so in college, I was a math major. And just for relief, I was a psychology minor. All right. Psychology was easy. It would just take you away from all the details and the complexity of math, I thought. And I had a plan, right? I was going to graduate in 3 years with a 4.0. And so I was on target to hit my plan. And then I ran into Calculus 2. Yes. With a brand new professor who filled the front blackboard with her right hand, erased with her left, never turned around to address the class, filled the side blackboard, never turned around to address the class. She's talking to the blackboard. Okay, so I'm lost. Everybody else is lost. We're trying to teach ourselves calculus too. And I'm heading home for Christmas. And I send a friend to check her door post the grades, right, to see what the outcome was. The friend comes running across the parking lot screaming, "You got a D! You got a D!" And I went, "Yes!" I passed calculus two. I don't have to take it again.
Right.
And I immediately flipped my major and minor.
Yeah.
So, there are times in life when you hit a wall, when you come across a conflict that changes the direction of your life. I
Yes.
encourage everybody, take that as a blessing because it's been a real blessing for me. I
Yeah.
have loved psychology, being a psychologist, helping other people understand how their brain functions, and coming to the reality that your brain holds everything that you have ever experienced.
Hmm.
Mind blowing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's absolutely mind blowing. And those things that you've experienced early in your life, they jump into the present. You
Hmm.
don't realize where they come from,
Right.
right? Unless you start to be curious and really dig deeper, really want to know, why do you think this way? Why do you feel this way? Why do you react this particular way? Our history is critical for us.
Yeah. Hmm.
And I think that's why I've written this journal book, for people to be able to dive into their histories, but in a way that is gentle,
Yeah.
right? In a way that just stimulates reflection.
Right.
So each one of the essays in this book will take you someplace into your life, right? Maybe back into early childhood, maybe to work, maybe to a family experience. I had a client once who described going home as
Hmm.
an adult, and he said, "I don't get it, but every time I walk into my parents' house, it's like I cross a magic twanger and turn into a 10-year-old."
Right. Right. I remember, I think it was Ramdas. You know who Ramdas is?
Yes.
Yes, I think it was Ramdas who said something to the effect of, if you ever think you have, reached enlightenment or nirvana, go spend a week with your family.
Right.
Like, yes, it's like that is so true. Like they know exactly which buttons to push, and boy, do
Absolutely.
they push it.
Absolutely.
So interestingly enough, you're talking about childhood, and I had a very visceral experience today. Today,
Really?
I
Wow.
was driving. I went to the grocery store. I
Mhm.
was driving back, and I was stopped at at a stoplight. And I
Stoplight.
looked over at the car on the left, and I couldn't see the person driving or anything, but they had something hanging from their mirror.
Uh-huh.
And it was like hanging on two strings, and it was a little basket with flowers. I mean, it was like a crochet type thing or
Right.
something
Uh-huh.
like that. It took me back to my childhood. I don't even remember how old or anything, but
Mhm.
I remember having something like that as a child. Like it
Fabulous.
was some kind of a toy or a
Mhm.
jewelry or something. I don't remember,
Right.
but I remember it was a little basket with flowers in
Mhm.
it. And
Mhm.
it just took me back. Now,
Wow.
what
That's
else is
fabulous.
going on with me is that my mother, who is 94, lived with us for 12 years.
Mhm.
And she is getting ready to go back to India
Oh,
to,
wow.
yeah, to spend the rest of her life there. And
Wow.
so I'm having a lot of emotions about
Of
that.
course.
On one hand, I'm very happy for her because I know that this will be a happy thing for her
Right.
because she's been
You
living
want.
in a nursing home for the last
Mhm.
8 months. And as
Mhm.
great as it is, it's not home. But on the other hand, I am really struggling with this idea of I will not see her every week. I mean, now I
Right.
see her 2, 3, 4 times a week. And
Right.
I will not see her every week. I might see her
Mhm.
twice. I might even see her twice before she passes. So
Right.
this whole thing of childhood and all of that just kind of that one little thing
Right.
triggered it right
Right.
away.
Right. Brought back a flood of
Yes. Yes.
childhood experiences and
Absolutely.
memories and feelings. It's so important for us to appreciate the power of those early experiences.
Hmm.
They guide our emotions,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
They give us information about what's safe and what's dangerous.
Hmm.
And when you're a child, your thought process is very concrete. It's not until the hormones dump into your brain
Right.
that you really can think through a variety of different pieces to an event. We,
Yeah.
as a child, in yes, no, right, wrong, black, white, we think in terms of a dichotomy.
Yeah.
So if you have an early childhood experience, let's say that is traumatic, that's frightening, maybe somebody tossed you into a swimming pool when you were
Mhm.
little, right? And they thought that was funny. And of course, you couldn't swim. All
Right.
right. And so now you have this reaction to water, right? You
Mhm.
don't like to go swimming. You didn't want to go to the beach. Well, it has removed so many sources of pleasure for you
Yeah.
that if you don't understand, oh, it's about being tossed in the water as a kid, and yes, that was terrifying, but it doesn't mean that I have to spend the rest of my life being afraid of the water and not giving myself the pleasure of, floating in a pool or
Yeah.
jumping
Yeah.
in the waves or even
Right.
walking along the sand at
Yeah.
the beach and picking up shells. So all of our early experiences do jump into the present. And
Yes.
we need to go fishing for those early
Yes.
experiences so
Yes.
that we can be relieved from the current impact of those experiences. We do not have to be triggered
Yeah.
by the presence of water, like this one example, and deny the pleasures of
Right.
whatever it is, right? Enjoying the water, interacting with friends, being able to sit around a campfire. I mean, there are so many times that we get traumatized as a child
Hmm.
that we don't recognize the presence of that trauma because it hides someplace in our brain, right?
Right.
It,
Right.
it was uncomfortable, so I don't want to keep going back to it. So
Hmm.
it hides someplace and
So
then it surprises me.
now, your specialization is well, something that you're passionate about is men and boys,
Right?
and I have been seeing a lot of things that are coming up, with comedians and things like that. That men are lonely.
Right.
Men
Right.
are very lonely.
Hmm.
So why do men have such a difficult time with relationships? And I mean, intimacy is about a romantic relationship, but even otherwise, why do men
Right.
have such a hard time with relationships?
Well, I will tell you, it is because of mothers. Now, I have to explain that, right? Boys come into the world with a broader range of emotional expression than girls do. Now,
Really?
yeah, I'm going to say it again. All right. And we have known this for decades. The research on infants and the sex differences in infants has been there for 30 years.
Hmm.
Boys come into the world with a broader range of emotional expression than girls do. But by and large, infant boys interact with women, right? And so when the boy's emotional expression goes higher in terms of excitement and exuberance, mother gets a little distant, all right? She's not used to that. If it goes lower in terms of fussiness, irritation, anger, mother's not comfortable with that. All right. So she does a little bit of withdrawal. Infants are brilliant emotionally. It is their only survival mechanism. They are absolutely brilliant. So mother doesn't have to do a big rejection. All mother has to do is either kind of get quiet or physically withdraw a little bit or look aside, right? Or be confused. And the boy immediately perceives, oops, going high or going low isn't safe. It doesn't get me mother's attention. Mother withdraws from me in some way. So I'm going to stop doing that.
So
And
let me ask you a question. When you say boys are born with more emotional range, so to
right,
speak,
more emotional range than girls.
girls, can you explain that further? Because to me, that seems completely, opposed to what I would naturally believe.
Yes, because they end up with such a narrow range of emotional expression. But it has to be adaptive, all right? We don't come into the world with characteristics unless they are adaptive.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So the intensity, think of it as a caveman, for example.
Okay, you
All
just
right. I
froze. I
want
don't
my
know if you're still
caveman to
there.
have that higher
Um,
intensity
give
so
it a
that
second. Hold
he
on a
can
second, Gloria.
run out with his spear and kill something.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to repeat that because we froze for a second.
So, okay. All right. So boys do have a broader range. All right. There has to be a natural function for that. And the natural function that I can easily think of is just to think of the need of the caveman, all right? The caveman has to have courage. He has to have bravery. He has to be willing to run out with his spear and chase something down and stab it and bring it back for food. All right. I think he also has to have that deeper range of grief as well in order to be motivated to take care of and to be attached to the people in his family, right? He doesn't want to lose any of them. And so men are just given this broader range,
Mhm.
and mother trains them to narrow that. And then we put them on their feet, right? And almost immediately, boys are told to limit the negative expression of feelings. I tell people go to a mall, go to a playground, and watch. A little girl gets hurt in some way, either emotionally or physically. She runs to her parent or her babysitter, right? And she gets picked up and asked what happened. Little boy gets hurt, either emotionally or physically, also runs to his parent, and he gets stopped and asked, what happened? If he gives a good enough answer, he will get some kind of physical comfort. So we train our boys to limit the range of their emotional expression, and we very early on communicate to them that having feelings on the negative end of the continuum, sadness, gentleness, longing, we don't want them. Yet, when they mature, and they go to develop relationships, whether with a female or a male, right? We want them to be tender and loving and to access all of those soft feelings. They can't do it. They can't do it. And that's why our jails are full of men, because they cannot express their emotional needs in a way that gets attention from others. And so they end up acting out their emotional needs rather than talking about their emotional needs.
Okay. Okay. And so in today's world, in today's technology heavy,
Mhm.
people working from home, those that kind of reality, what are some things that men could do to sort of circumvent this early childhood programming, so to speak?
Right. They could
They're
challenge
still not
themselves.
as they're still not, they have to now, with what's going on in the world, they are even physically more isolated from
Right.
the
That's right.
situation.
That's absolutely right. And so they have to challenge themselves to grow emotionally. All right. The reason I wrote this book, by and large, is also for men to be able to challenge themselves to grow. So these are a series of essays, and the essay has a blank facing page. The
Okay.
reason for that, most journal books have lines, right, where you are supposed to write in language
Mhm.
your reaction to different stimuli. The truth of the matter is, right, we represent in terms of picture and motion as well as language, and our early experiences are going to be accessed more easily with motion than with language. So, in response to one of these essays, the blank page invites you, right, to draw, to scribble, to use the intensity of pressure on the page to respond to what you've been reading. And that opens up a whole new world of understanding about yourself. So, yes, you can respond by writing in language,
Yeah.
right? There's no limitation to that. But even when you do that, pay attention to the pressure that you use to write those words, or maybe even the size that you use to write those words,
What
right?
do you mean
Because
by the size that you use?
yeah, but how big do you make the letters,
Okay. Okay.
right?
Okay.
Because sometimes if you're really reacting and responding, you're not conscious of your penmanship.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so some things are going to be smaller, some things are going to be bigger. That's a key for you to be able to understand what's happening at a more subconscious level. This
Hmm.
book is also excellent for therapists to
Hmm.
use with their clients, because there's so much richness that can come out of the individual
Uh-huh.
onto the page, and that can really help you to find trailheads, right? Find places to start to help someone to understand bits of their history and to open themselves up and to heal
Hmm.
injuries, right? That's
Do
really
you
what
have the
the book
book? Can
is
you show
about.
it to us?
Yes, here's the book. Read,
Read.
reflect, respond, the 3 R's of growth and change. And the interesting part is to look, right?
Okay.
So there's an essay on this page,
Yeah.
blank on the other page.
Okay.
There are a couple of stimulating questions, but the page invites you to do anything you want,
Okay.
right? You
Okay.
can draw, you can scribble, you can write. And tell people, you could also tear the page
Yeah.
if you wanted. You'll run the essay on the other side unless you tape it back together.
Right.
But you can respond in a way that taps into things that are buried in
Yeah.
your brain.
Okay.
And then you can have access to them. Uh,
Okay,
and
so I think the other question I was going to ask you is how can a person challenge themselves? But it sounds like one of the things that you would suggest is using that journal to really
absolutely
kind of work through some issues, and even without a therapist, you could do that. Like
right.
if you don't have a therapist and you're still wanting to work on yourself, you can still do that by using that book.
Right. And you can challenge yourself when you do have an emotional reaction that surprises you,
Hmm.
right? When you get kind of hotter than the situation demands or colder than the situation demands. Don't just brush that off,
Yeah.
right? Don't just say, oh, I'm sorry, I'll never do that again. Pay attention to it.
Hmm.
Right? Figure out a time that you can actually even go write it down, right? I was in this situation, this person is saying this, I was saying this, and then all of a sudden I got really hot and I said or did this,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? You can make your own process helpful because now you have to look at it. You don't just
Yeah.
forget it and let it happen again. You have to look at it and see, okay, what might be the connection? What might be underlying this explosive reaction
Yeah.
that I did? Have I done it before? How young was I the first time I did it? I mean,
That
you
is
can ask yourself
excellent because I am thinking about, and you tell me this because you are the expert on this book and this process. So, would this work with somebody who is a borderline?
this will work with anyone.
Okay.
Right? And even if you think of someone that we now call a borderline, I would say that person has a collection of injuries because I've worked with borderlines before.
Hmm.
They have a collection of injuries that has narrowed their emotional capability in order to create safety for
Yeah.
them,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
They, by and large, have these very difficult histories, have emotional injuries, may have abusive histories. And when you can free someone
Hmm.
from those typically early childhood experiences that get their brain thinking in a particular way in order to protect them, then there's a dramatic change that can take place for them emotionally.
Now, Gloria, this book is not just for men or and
No,
boys.
no, this book is for anybody who is old enough to read.
Okay.
Right.
And would you say it's appropriate for adolescents, or is it more appropriate for adults?
It's appropriate for adolescents as well because they'll find stories in here that they can identify with. They'll find stories in here that they're heard from their grandparents, aunts, uncles.
Hmm.
All right. So it will be really easy for an adolescent to
Yeah.
benefit from this book as well.
Now, why have you been so interested in working or focusing on men and boys?
Well, because when I started my practice, I had a friend who ran a preschool,
Yeah.
right? And preschools, by and large, are run by women. They're staffed by women. And so they hyper focus on boys,
Yeah.
right? Little boys are a bit noisier, they move around more. And so they would identify these boys as having attention deficit. All
Yeah.
right. And as a psychologist, I can figure that out. I can test that. I can let you know if they have attention deficit or not. So my calendar filled up with preschoolers also from other preschools in the city. And I learned so much from these preschoolers. It's just incredible.
Yeah.
The fascinating part about it was as I worked with the preschoolers, their fathers put themselves on my calendar. Now, typically, men do not put themselves into therapy unless they are ordered to do that, right? They
Yeah.
have to be ordered by the court They
Or the
have
wife or the girlfriend.
well, not always the wife. Sometimes they resist that, but sometimes the wife or the physician. I can't tell
Yeah,
you the number of guys I saw who were finally ordered by their physician,
yeah.
right? One that kept having serious stomach problems,
Hmm.
right? Even to the point of collapse.
Oh, goodness.
And, finally the physician said, look, this is not physical, right? And you have to go see this woman and you have to talk this out and figure out why your body keeps bending you in half.
Right,
And
right.
exactly what the body was doing, just bending him in half. But my calendar then filled with men. And
Mm,
for 7 years straight, I had the majority of every hour
yeah.
was a male client. They taught me so much
Now tell
about
me, do you work differently with men than you do with women?
right now. My calendar is equal, I would say. I do a lot of work with couples,
Yeah.
and those are mainly male and female. I have a few that are two women or two men, but most of them are male and female. And I have a few teenagers, but honestly, since COVID, I've not gone to an office. So all of the work is online. And that typically means you're going to work with an adult
Yeah.
who,
Now, I
who
was going
really
to ask you
appreciates that.
if you work differently when you're working with a man as opposed to working with a woman.
No, I really don't. I
Okay.
really don't. I use a mainly process called the internal family systems,
Hmm.
right? Which says, as most therapists will know, that you do carry parts of you
Tell
from
us more
early
about
childhood.
that. Tell us more about the IFS, internal family systems, because a lot of therapists know about it, but not everybody, the layperson, doesn't.
Yeah, it appreciates the fact that you do have memories from birth. Actually, we know now that you have memories in utero as well.
Hmm.
And some of those can also impact how you're functioning as an adult. But the realization that your brain holds on to everything,
Hmm.
right? So you have all of these early experiences and they get packed away up there. And the title, I think, of internal family systems is just to indicate that you have lots of different parts, right? Lots of
Right.
different pieces of yourself that you might think of as a group or as a family
Yeah.
system.
Hmm.
And that when you can find those parts, when you can tap in to different pieces of yourself, you can engage in a healing process
Hmm.
because you naturally have a whole healthy sense of you. But that sense can be kind of small,
Hmm.
right? Depending on the kind of life experiences that you've had, it can be pretty big too, but it can be tremendously helpful in looking at all the parts of your history and helping you to understand how you might be trapped in a particular scenario or the way that someone treated you or related to you or labeled
So
you.
I remember from my reading that there is the part called the firefighter, and then some other. I don't remember all of the names, but I definitely remember the firefighter because that's the one that causes most
Right,
of the
right.
trouble. So tell us a little bit about what.
That might be the one that you're most connected to yourself.
Right, right. So tell us about the different parts, and very briefly, like what are the roles that they have?
So yeah, you've mentioned the firefighter, right? And the firefighter is a protector. We want to protect ourselves from injury. And in the course of life, we develop certain strategies for doing that, all right? And sometimes our strategy can be that we'll just go silent, all right? I'm just not going to answer your questions.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I think your question is stupid anyway, so I'm just not going to answer it.
Yeah.
Or the firefighter might be like really intense, right?
Really
Get really
angry and
angry,
aggressive and
right? And get really irritated with you and
attacking.
overpower you and attack you.
Yeah.
And the role of the self is to appreciate these parts, right? Not to beat them up,
Mm-hmm.
but to accept that they're functional. They're there for a reason. And
Mm-hmm.
the reason is protective in some way.
Mm-hmm.
This is a necessary part
Yeah.
that wants to be helpful to
Yeah.
you, all right, and wants to be supportive, but kind of overdoes it, if you will,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Right. Right.
Just is like too fierce,
Yeah.
too protective,
Mm-hmm.
just like too busy
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. So the
keeping you.
self is the one that is able to basically look at the situation, look at what you're experiencing,
Mhm.
and say, okay, I understand why you overreacted in that
Right,
situation because that was the firefighter. I'm going to
right,
tell the firefighter that you did a great job of protecting, but now you can calm down and you can kind of
right,
take a break, and
right,
I, the self, will take over. Now,
right.
from my readings about the IFS, what I also found interesting is the sort of the combination of the Eastern and Western.
Ah, yes,
And
yes, you
and
noticed
so
that.
so yes, so I know that he brought in a lot of that idea of our higher self,
Right.
and that is that. So tell us a little bit about
Yeah,
those.
and those are the protectors. So I'll have firefighters, protectors, and a self, right? This is
Yeah,
the community that my psyche lives
yeah,
in.
right.
Um, and the protectors can take on all different forms as
Mhm.
well.
Yeah.
That they can be rational, they can be intellectual, they can be emotional.
Hmm.
But their job is to be able, let's say, to provide safety,
Yeah.
somehow to provide protection
Yeah.
and comfort, so that I don't have to maybe face something
Yeah.
that's really difficult. I can
Mhm.
just kind of skirt around it and follow
So
that.
the protector can also be avoidant.
Can be avoidant,
Yeah.
yes,
So it can
right.
be aggressive, it can be avoidant, it can be stonewalling, it can be a lot of those kind of things.
It can be a very strong leader,
Yeah.
right? Kind of, you must do it this way
Right.
in order
Right.
to be successful.
Hmm.
But in essence, it's actually kind of, if you will say, misleading you and
Right. Right.
causing you to do things that are not kind of genuinely what your internal sense of
Yeah.
self
Yeah.
would be comfortable with or would really want to do.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, we are almost out of time, running out of time. So I want to ask you a few more questions.
Okay.
You, what role does mental health play in other parts of our lives?
It's critical for anything, right? The way in which you function emotionally, the way in which you think about yourself, the way in which you think about others, it permeates everything. It is like the concept of dark matter, right? Dark matter is this kind of unknown substance in science that is every place, right? It runs through walls, it runs through your body, it separates every cell or atom in the universe. And so it is like that, right? It's powerful, it's important, and it organizes the world around us. So it's incredibly important.
Right. Right. Um, do you feel like in today's world, and society, we are giving mental health more of importance. We are recognizing the importance of it. And if so, in what ways do you think things have shifted from maybe when you were a child?
I think we're doing a much better job of understanding mental health
Mhm.
and the value of knowing ourselves and doing kind of the internal research to become the best person that you can possibly be.
Mhm.
Right? Because every experience that you have had from birth forward has an influence on you. If you can identify what that influence is, then you get to choose. Oh, do I keep using that influence or do I want to modify it in some way?
Right.
And that freedom is incredibly valuable. So as we move forward and into artificial intelligence and
Yes.
all of the things that that can bring into our lives, we are going to see that mental health becomes more and more critical because we will have more free time. All
Huh.
right. There'll be more opportunities for interpersonal interactions than we have now.
How
And
so?
that how so? All right. So let's see. I will have a robot that cleans my house, cooks my food, puts away the groceries when another robot delivers them to
Okay.
the front door. All right. So my time becomes freer.
Okay.
All right. And the time of everybody else in the house becomes freer. So there's opportunity for more interpersonal interaction. That will either go very well or very badly,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Depending on how we educate the population and how we come up with new resources for helping people to strengthen their interpersonal relationships.
Mhm.
We don't teach this stuff now.
Interestingly enough, you were mentioning AI, and lately, what I have encountered several times actually, that my clients are telling me that either their husbands or boyfriends, men,
Hmm.
are going to AI to get advice
Hmm.
for mental and emotional health instead of
Right.
coming to see a therapist. And I understand that draw completely, that it is so much easier to go to a machine and try to figure things out than to go to a real person. But what do you see as the pros and cons of that?
Well, it's safety. It isn't ease. It's safety, right? And it goes right back to what I said earlier that we rob our boys, we rob our men of access to their feeling states. And so it is way too risky to take a feeling need to another guy or a girl because I'm not real comfortable with it. I don't have a lot of practice in disclosing or talking about my feeling states, and I'm at risk for being made fun of, for being ignored, for creating problems. So I'm going to go to the internet. I'm going to go to my computer. It is safe,
Right. So
right?
it's
What
about
we
safety.
need is more education,
Yeah.
uh, starting at a much younger age as well, about your mental health,
Yeah.
about your emotionality, so that it gets normalized.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. How do you hope to impact others from your work?
I hope to make a significant change in the way that fathers relate to their sons
Okay.
and then open up the emotional avenue, the emotional channel for their sons because we no longer send people out of a cave with a spear to go get food.
Right.
We go to the grocery store.
So far, we still do, but
So
at some
far,
point, like you said, I mean,
so far
it's
we
already
still do,
happening.
or we have it delivered, which means
Right,
somebody else goes to the
right,
grocery
right.
store.
Instacart is
But
already there
there's
now.
there's there's still a human being going to the grocery
Right,
store.
right. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
And so I really want to impact the male who has a son and can facilitate that son having a broader range of access to his emotions
Yeah,
so that he can build relationships, he can get the reciprocity that he wants, all right? He can be heard, he can have the language to explain
yeah.
what his needs and wants are instead of interacting with the computer. I
Right.
want him to interact with a human being.
Yes, yes, yes. The last thing I'm going to ask you is, what do you do to invest your time and energy other than your work, like to maybe re-energize yourself?
All right, so I have two passions
Yeah.
outside just for me personally, right? And one is that I do watercolors.
Oh,
I'm,
nice.
I'm not going to tell you I'm really good at it, but I've done it for decades. So I have some talent and I enjoy it. And the other is that I play a little instrument that people probably have never heard of called an ottavino.
Huh.
And that little instrument is a lady's lap version of a harpsichord. So it's a
Interesting. How did you
string.
even find it?
Well, I love harpsichord music. So we have consistently gone to venues in this area to hear famous harpsichord
Yeah.
players. And one of those brought a little ottavino with him that he had made, and he played that. And so afterwards, my husband approached him and said, would you sell that? And that's how I ended up with this little tiny harpsichord. It's like a desktop harpsichord.
Oh,
The
how
string
fun.
it's fun. It's tons of fun. The strings get plucked
Yeah.
like a real harpsichord, and
Yeah.
it makes a beautiful sound. It just has a smaller keyboard,
Do you have,
not
does
the
it
full
hurt
range.
your fingertips?
Nope.
See, when I
No,
was,
it still plays with keys, right?
oh,
It
okay.
plays with keys like a regular harpsichord or a piano
Okay.
would, but the key ends up making a pluck,
Okay.
pluck of string.
All right. All right. Well, I want to thank you so much for giving us your time
You're
and giving
welcome.
us your wisdom and letting my, viewers and listeners take part in learning from you. So if there's anything that you would like to share before we end today, please go ahead.
Well, I want to encourage any therapist watching, all right, to use Read, Reflect, Respond as an adjunct to therapy. Have all of your clients buy it and use it. You will be thrilled with the outcome. And I want to say if anybody wants to reach out to me, you can find me on my website at www.drvanderhorst.com. So that's www.drvanderhorst.com. I'd be happy to talk with anyone.
And Gloria, where can they find your book?
They can find the book at any independent bookstore. All you have to do is ask them and they'll order it. And you can also find it on Amazon, which is
Of
probably a
course.
pretty easy place for everybody.
And are you selling it on your website?
And you can find it on the
Okay.
website.
Okay. And
Mhm.
that's www.drvanderhorst.com.
.com.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Well, thank you so much
Thank
for taking
you.
time. And I am, hoping that your book really reaches a lot of people and
Thank you.
changes a lot of lives for the better.
Thank you very much.
This is Drinks Who Drink and Amita Ghosh signing off.